Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We have a stack of research, notes, and a book on the virtual desk today that tackles something I think every single person listening has battled with at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
But honestly, if you are a student right now, or if you're just in a phase of life where you're trying to absorb a massive amount of new information, this particular monster is probably living under your bed.
It really is.
We are talking about procrastination.
The thief of time,
Yeah.
the grave of opportunity. It goes by many names, but the feeling is always the same, isn't it? That crushing weight of knowing you should be doing something and you're doing literally anything else instead.
Exactly. And today, we aren't just commiserating about it. We are looking at a solution that involves, well, a very specific, and I have to say, slightly gross dietary choice.
It is a memorable image, to say the least. It definitely sticks in the mind.
The book we're diving into today is called Eat That Frog for Students. It's written by productivity legend Brian Tracy, along with Anna Leinberger. Now, I have to be honest with you. When I first saw the title, Eat That Frog, my brain didn't immediately go to efficiency or academic success.
No, of course not.
It went to why. Why would I do that? And is it cooked? Is there a sauce?
All very valid questions. It definitely requires some explanation before we can even get into the tactics. The title is actually based on a famous quote.
From Mark Twain, right.
It's often attributed to him, yeah.
Yeah.
The origins are a little debated, but the core idea is this. If the very first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is to eat a live frog, you can go through the rest of the day with the incredible satisfaction of knowing that that is probably the absolute worst thing that is going to happen to you all day long.
Which, when you put it that way, is a pretty compelling point. I mean, if I've choked down a live amphibian by 8:00 a.m. my calculus midterm or that massive presentation,
Right.
it doesn't seem quite as threatening, does it?
Precisely. It puts everything else into perspective. So in the context of this book and productivity in general, the frog is a metaphor.
Okay.
Your frog is your biggest, most important task. It's the one you are most likely to procrastinate on, but it's also, and this is key, the one that can have the greatest positive impact on your life, your grades, and your results at that moment.
So to be clear, the frog isn't just a chore. It's not taking out the trash or answering a text.
No, not at all.
It's the big, ugly thing looming over you. The term paper, the massive lab report, the college application essay.
Right. It's the thing that stares back at you. It's ugly. It has warts. You don't want to touch it. And the core philosophy here is that successful students and successful people in general, they don't necessarily work more hours than the people who struggle.
You don't have more time.
They don't have more time than you do. They just have a habit of identifying that frog, staring it down, and eating it first, before they check their phone, before they check email, before they do any of the easy stuff.
So the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear then. We are going to extract the 22 ways this book suggests we can stop procrastinating and actually excel in school.
Right.
And the promise of the source material is pretty bold. It claims to offer a roadmap from being overwhelmed, which I think is the default state for most modern
I would
students,
agree with that.
to being unstoppable.
It is bold, but it's grounded in a lot of practical psychology. You see, the original Eat That Frog is a global bestseller for business people. We're talking executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs.
Right, for the corporate world.
Exactly.
Okay.
But this version is specifically tailored for the unique pressures of high school, college, and graduate students. And that distinction, it really matters because student life is structurally different from corporate life.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think people often tell students to just treat school like a job. But it's not a job, is it?
Not really. I mean, in a traditional job, you usually have one boss. You have a clear set of hours. In school, you have significantly less structure, but you effectively have multiple bosses, your teachers or professors.
Oh. Who usually don't talk to each other.
They never talk to each other. The math teacher doesn't care that the history teacher assigned a paper due the same day.
Nope.
They all assign heavy workload simultaneously. Plus, you're in this social environment that is constantly competing for your attention. So the frog is harder to catch because there are so many other distractions hopping around.
So let's get into it. The book is divided into some clear sections. And the first one isn't about calendars or apps or study hacks.
Yeah.
It's really about what's going on inside your head. It's the mindset shift.
Right. Before you can even talk about to-do lists, you have to talk about how you view yourself. This brings us to the first pillar of success mentioned in the text, self-esteem.
This feels a bit like a chicken and egg situation to me. Do I need good grades to get self-esteem, or do I need self-esteem to get good grades? I feel like most people wait for the grades to feel good about themselves.
And that's the trap. The book argues pretty strongly that the egg comes first, the self-esteem. Tracy's argument is that you cannot outperform your own self-image.
You cannot outperform your own self-image.
It's a crucial psychological concept.
Yeah.
If you see yourself as a C student, if you internally identify as average or bad at math, you will subconsciously do things to remain consistent with that identity.
Wow.
You might study hard, but then freeze on the test or forget to turn in an assignment. You sabotage yourself to stay within your comfort zone, even if that comfort zone is failure.
That is wild. So we are actually working to prove our own negative self-talk, right?
Exactly. We crave consistency. Our brains like it when our actions match our beliefs. So Tracy emphasizes that self-esteem is the foundation of energy and productivity. And he suggests a very specific exercise to hack this called the no limits visualization.
I love this concept. It's basically asking yourself, what would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail?
It's such a powerful question because it removes the fear mechanism that usually shuts down our ambition. Usually when we set a goal, our brain immediately whispers, yeah, but you're bad at math, or you don't have enough time, or you can't afford that college.
Well, the buts.
All the buts. When you ask the no limits question, you silence that voice temporarily. You aren't worrying about the how yet. You're just focusing on the what. And it frees up your imagination to actually identify what you really, truly want.
And this ties into the law of concentration mentioned in the source, right?
Yes. The law of concentration states that whatever you dwell on grows. It expands in your life. If you think about your limitations constantly, I'm lazy, I'm a procrastinator, I never finish anything, those qualities become your reality.
You're feeding them.
You're feeding them with your attention. But if you focus on your potential, on that no limits vision, that begins to shape your reality. Your brain starts looking for ways to make that true instead.
The book also connects this to values. It's not enough to just want success in a generic sense. You have to define what you stand for.
Correct. Values give you confidence. If you clarify that you value excellence or helping others or integrity, those values act as a compass. So when you have to make a tough choice, like studying versus going to a party the night before a test, you check your values. If you go to the party, you might have fun. But if your value is excellence, your self-esteem will crash the next morning because you violated your own code.
Because you weren't true to yourself.
Exactly. But if you stay and study, even if it's hard, your self-esteem goes up because you acted in alignment with who you say you want to be.
There's a really actionable piece of advice here that I think is great for anyone feeling a bit like an imposter. Maybe you're a freshman or you're in a class that feels way too hard. The act as if principle.
Yes. This is the fake it till you make it of student psychology. But it's not about being fake. It's about behavioral priming. If you don't feel confident, act as if you are. If you want to be a top student,
You look at what they do.
you observe what the top students do. How do they sit in class? They probably sit in the front, right? How do they take notes? How do they manage their weekends? If you copy the behavior, the feelings eventually follow. You can actually behave your way into a new self-image.
That leads us right into the second pillar, which
Yeah.
I think is probably the hardest pill to swallow for a lot of students. Honestly, it's hard for adults too. Personal responsibility.
This is the turning point. The book makes it very clear. There is a moment, usually in high school or college, where the training wheels come off. Your parents are no longer the managers of your life.
You are.
You are, and that transition can be, well, it can be rocky.
The text mentions a mantra here, just a simple phrase. I am responsible.
It sounds simple, almost too simple, like something you'd see on a motivational poster.
Right.
But the neuroscience behind it is fascinating. The source material claims it is biologically impossible to feel angry or negative while you are accepting full responsibility.
Wait, really? Walk me through that. So I can't be mad at my teacher for a bad grade and say, I am responsible at the same time?
Not effectively, no. Think about the mechanics of anger or resentment. They usually require an external target. I'm failing because the teacher is boring.
I'm tired because my roommate is loud.
I didn't finish because the library was closed. You are projecting the cause outward. The moment you say, I am responsible, you short-circuit that projection. You take the power back.
You become the cause, not the effect.
Exactly. You move from being a victim to being in charge. You shift from, this happened to me, to, what am I going to do about it?
That is a massive shift. It means refusing to blame external factors. The teacher is boring. is not an excuse for failing the class anymore.
Exactly. If the teacher is boring, that's just a fact of the terrain. It's like rain or traffic. Your responsibility is to find a way to make the material interesting or to learn it on your own via YouTube or the textbook. It puts the ball back in your court. It's empowering, but it's heavy.
Okay, so we have self-esteem and responsibility. The third pillar is goals. And the book defines a goal very simply, something that you want.
Right.
But I feel like everyone wants good grades. Everyone wants to graduate. Why do some people get them and others don't?
Because a wish is not a goal. A goal needs structure. It needs to be written down, and it needs to be specific. The book outlines a formula for making them effective. The 3P formula.
The 3 Ps.
Goals must be positive, present, and personal.
Okay, let's unpack those. Positive seems straightforward, but I bet people mess it up all the time.
They do. Positive means you state what you want, not what you don't want. So instead of saying, I won't procrastinate or I won't fail math, you say, I plan my days efficiently or I ace my math tests.
Because the brain struggles with negatives.
It really does. If I say, don't think of a pink elephant, what happens?
I see a pink elephant immediately.
Exactly. So if you say, I won't fail, your brain focuses on the concept of failure. It ruminates on it. So you have to flip it to the positive outcome you desire.
Okay, so that's positive. What about present? That sounds a little strange.
This is the weird one. This means you write the goal as if it is already true. I have an A in chemistry, not I will get an A.
I have an A in chemistry. It feels a bit like lying to yourself initially, doesn't it? If I currently have a C, isn't that just delusional?
It's not delusional, it's programming. You're creating what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Your subconscious mind responds to clear, present tense commands. If you say, I will get an A, your brain thinks, okay, that's a future thing. I can relax now. We'll do that later.
Right, no urgency.
No urgency at all. But if you say, I have an A, and your reality shows a C, your subconscious notices a conflict. It goes to work to resolve that dissonance between where you are and where you say you are. It drives you to study to make the statement true.
And the third P is personal.
Yes, use the word I. I achieve, I study, I complete. You are the captain of the ship. You can't set a goal like, my teacher gives me an A. You have to set a goal like, I earn an A.
The source mentions a 10-goal exercise using this formula. And it sounds almost like magic, the way they describe this success rate.
It's very impactful. The exercise is simple. You take a sheet of paper right now, and you write down 10 goals you want to accomplish in the next year using that 3P formula. I weigh X pounds, I have a 4.0 GPA, I speak Spanish fluently.
And then what?
Then you put the paper away. You don't look at it every day, you just let it go. The source claims an 80% success rate just by doing that one time.
Just by writing it down once, that seems way too easy.
It does, but here's why it works. Writing it clarifies it. It moves it from a vague wish in the cloud of your mind to a concrete set of words. It activates your reticular activating system. That's the part of your brain that filters information.
Okay.
Once you write, I am fluent in Spanish, you start noticing Spanish books, Spanish clubs, Spanish apps, things you would have ignored before. You prime your brain to see opportunities that were always there, but you were blind to them.
Okay, so that's the mindset. We're responsible, we're visualizing success, and we've written down our I have statements. Now we need to actually do the work. We need to leave the clouds and hit the pavement. This brings us to Section 2, Structural Tactics, Planning and Lists.
This is where we get into the nuts and bolts of organization. The chapter, Set the Table, outlines 7 steps to clarity. And the premise here is vital. Clarity is the enemy of procrastination.
I believe that.
Most people procrastinate not because they're lazy, but because they simply aren't sure exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
I've definitely been there, sitting at a desk knowing I have work to do, but just scrolling through my phone because the work feels like a vague gray cloud. I don't know where to grab it.
Exactly. Ambiguity breeds procrastination. If the task is just do history, that's too vague. Your brain rejects it. So step 1 is to decide exactly what you want. Clarity on assignments. Step 2 is critical, and we've touched on it. Write it down.
And the authors are specific about this, right? Thinking on paper.
Yes, thinking on paper.
In a digital world, does it really matter if it's paper versus an app? Can I just use my Notes app or Notion?
You can, and many people do successfully. But the expert view here in this book is that writing physically engages different neural pathways. It slows you down enough to think. It connects the hand to the brain.
That's interesting.
Plus, a piece of paper on your desk is a constant visual cue. An app can be closed. An app is one swipe away from TikTok or Instagram. A piece of paper just stares at you. It doesn't run out of battery.
Steps 3 through 5 seem to be about breaking it down. Set a deadline, make a list of everything required, and then organize that list into a plan.
That's the slicing we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But steps 6 and 7 are about momentum. Step 6 is take action immediately.
Don't wait.
Don't wait. Just do one thing on the list right away. And then step 7, do something every single day that moves you toward the goal.
That every single day part is tough.
It is, but it prevents the rust from setting in, even if it's just 10 minutes. If you are writing a thesis, write one sentence. Just keep the file open in your brain. If you stop for 3 days, the friction to restart is enormous.
Now, speaking of lists, the book introduces a hierarchy of lists. I love a good list, but this suggests we need more than just one crumpled Post-it note with study written on it.
Yes, to really be on top of things, you need to funnel your tasks. It starts with the master list. That's everything. Every long-term wish, every major project for the future, every class requirement. The big picture.
Then we narrow it down from there to the term list.
Right. This is specific to students. You take your syllabi at the start of the semester, that stack of papers most students lose in week 1 or leave in the bottom of their bag, and you map out all the big dates, midterms, finals, major papers.
So no more surprise deadlines.
That should never happen if you have a term list. You know, when you walk into class and realize there's a test, that's a failure of planning.
Okay, then the monthly list and the weekly list.
The weekly list is your strategy session, usually done on a Sunday night. You look at the month, you see what's coming, and you map out the week. Okay, I have a paper due Friday, so I need to research on Monday and Tuesday. It stops the Sunday scaries because you have a plan.
And finally, the daily list. And there's a very specific tip about when to make this list.
The night before. This is a game changer. If you write your to-do list for tomorrow before you go to sleep tonight, 2 incredible things happen. 1, you sleep better.
How so?
You aren't lying in bed trying to hold the tasks in your working memory. Don't forget the milk. Don't forget to call mom. Don't forget the assignment. You've offloaded them to the paper. You can let go.
And the second thing?
Your subconscious mind actually works on the problems while you sleep.
So you're saying I might wake up with the introduction to my essay already written in my head?
Often, yes. You wake up with ideas or solutions ready to go. But more importantly, when you wake up, you don't have to waste mental energy deciding what to do. It's already there. You hit the ground running.
No decision fatigue.
None. You don't spend the first hour of the day wandering around confused. And this all ties into the 10-90 rule mentioned in the text.
Okay, what's that?
10% of your time spent planning saves 90% of the time in execution.
That sounds like a lot of planning time, though. People might feel like they're wasting time planning when they should be working.
It feels like it. But think about how much time you waste getting ready to work. Shuffling papers, checking emails, finding your pen, wondering what to do first. If you plan, you cut all that out. You sit down and go.
It's the 6P formula.
Proper prior planning prevents poor performance.
Oh, it's hard to argue with that. Okay, so we have our plan. Now we're in section 3, strategic execution. We have to manage time and actually do the tasks. And the big concept here is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule.
This is a concept from economics, initially observed by Vilfredo Pareto, but it applies perfectly to schoolwork. The rule states that 20% of your activities will account for 80% of your results.
How does that work for a student? I mean, I have to go to all my classes, don't I? I can't just go to 20% of them.
You do have to go to class. But think about the value of the assignments. A term paper might be worth 40% of your grade. A daily journal entry might be worth 1%.
Ah, I see.
The term paper is in that top 20%, the vital few. The journal entry is in the bottom 80%, the trivial many.
The trap, I assume, is that we like doing the trivial many because they're easier.
Exactly. We procrastinate on the big, scary term paper by clearing up small, easy tasks. We reorganize our highlighters. We recopy our notes to make them prettier. We answer easy emails. We feel busy.
We feel productive.
We feel like we're working hard, but we aren't moving the needle on what actually matters. Eat that frog means you have to tackle that top 20% first. You have to ignore the small stuff until the big stuff is done.
This leads to the concept of time chunking. The book distinguishes between big fish and small fish.
This is all about matching the task to the time slot. A big fish is that term paper. It needs deep focus. You cannot write a good thesis statement in 15-minute bursts between classes.
No way.
You need a large, unbroken block of time, like a Saturday morning or a quiet Tuesday evening. You need deep work.
And the small fish.
That's reviewing flashcards, reading a few pages, doing administrative tasks. emailing a professor. Those fit into the gaps. The mistake students make is trying to catch a big fish in a small pond. They try to write the paper in the 20 minutes before dinner, get frustrated because they can't get into the flow, and then they give up.
Or the opposite. They waste a perfectly good 4-hour block on a Saturday doing laundry and checking emails, stuff that could have been done in the gaps.
Precisely. You have to guard those big blocks of time for the big frogs. If you have a free Saturday morning, do not open your email, do not clean your room, eat the frog.
So, we know we need to tackle the big squish, but it's big, and it's staring at us, and it's scary. How do we overcome that inertia? The book offers some delicious-sounding methods, the salami slice and the Swiss cheese methods.
These are essentially psychological tricks to lower the barrier to entry. When you look at a task like write 20-page history paper, your brain registers pain. It looks impossible. It triggers a flight response.
All right, I'm out.
The salami slice method is about cutting that huge task into tiny, thin slices.
So you don't write the paper?
No, that's too big. You write one bibliography entry, or gather 3 books from the shelf, or even just open the Word document and type the title, just one slice, and then maybe another. It's less intimidating. You can convince yourself to do one slice.
Okay, that makes sense. And the Swiss cheese method?
Slightly different, but a similar idea. It's about punching a hole in the task, like holes in cheese. You say, I'm going to work on this for just 5 minutes. Set a timer.
Just 5 minutes.
It doesn't matter what part you do. You don't have to start at the beginning. Maybe you write the conclusion first because you know what you want to say. Maybe you just format the title page. You just punch a hole in the solid wall of the project.
And the goal of both of these is what the book calls compulsion to closure.
Yes. Humans have a natural desire to finish things. We hate open loops. When you finish even a tiny slice, you get a hit of endorphins. It feels good.
Yeah.
That chemical reward motivates you to take the next slice. You build momentum. You trick your brain from seeing it as pain to seeing it as reward.
That momentum is crucial. You mentioned momentum earlier as being hard to build but easy to maintain, which brings us to section 4, the psychology of momentum. There is a great story in the book about crossing the Sahara Desert that really vividly illustrates this.
This is a classic Brian Tracy story. He talks about crossing the Tanasraft, which is the heart of the Sahara Desert. It's 500 miles of absolutely flat sand.
Wow.
No landmarks, no trees, no nothing. Just an endless yellow parking lot under a brutal sun.
It sounds terrifying.
It was. People used to die there regularly because the sand would drift over the tracks, they'd lose their way, run out of water, and that was it.
So how did they solve that?
To solve this, the French placed black oil barrels exactly 5 kilometers apart.
Why 5 kilometers specifically?
Because due to the curvature of the Earth, that's exactly how far the horizon is. So wherever you stood next to a barrel, you could see exactly 2 other things. The barrel you just passed and the barrel ahead.
So you didn't have to navigate 500 miles.
No.
You just had to navigate to the next barrel.
That's the lesson, the mile marker method. When a project feels like a 500-mile desert, stop worrying about the other side. Stop worrying about the finished grade or graduation day. Just find the next oil barrel. What is the one thing you can do right now? Do that, then look for the next one.
It's about narrowing your focus to avoid the overwhelm. Just get to the next barrel.
And once you get moving, you want to trigger flow. You know, that magical state where time disappears and you're working easily.
Oh, yeah.
It's when you look up and realize 3 hours have passed, but it felt like 20 minutes.
Can we actually force that to happen? I feel like flow just strikes randomly like lightning.
You can't force it, but you can encourage it. You can create the conditions for it. And one way is by developing a sense of urgency. The book suggests using a mantra to silence distractions.
A mantra?
Yeah. When you find yourself drifting, scrolling Instagram, or staring out the window, you say to yourself over and over, do it now, do it now, do it now. Or, back to work.
It sounds a bit intense shouting at yourself, do it now.
It is intense.
Yeah.
But it interrupts the pattern of distraction. It snaps you back. And it taps into the momentum principle. Think of a train. It takes a huge amount of energy to get a train moving from a dead stop. The wheels spin, the engine roars.
Right.
But once it's rolling at 60 miles per hour, it takes very little energy to keep it moving. You want to get the train rolling? That's what the mantra does. It provides that initial shove.
Moving on to section 5, we have some advanced student strategies. These are a bit more high level. The first one is metacognition, thinking about thinking.
This is often what separates the A students from the B students. Metacognition is, it's about learning how to learn. The book argues you should stop focusing on what you put into your head and start focusing on what you can pull out.
Because the test is about output, not input.
Exactly. Most students study by reading and rereading, highlighting sentences. That's all input. It feels like learning, but it's often just recognition. You see the sentence and you think, oh yeah, I know that.
But you can't recall it from scratch.
You can't. To really learn, you need output. There is a 4-step study review suggested in the book. First, identify what you think you know.
Okay.
Second, identify what you don't know. Be brutally honest about your gaps.
Which is painful.
Very. Third, study the don't knows.
That seems obvious, but I bet most people spend time studying what they already know because it makes them feel smart.
100%. It's comfortable. We like to review the stuff we are good at, but the growth is in the uncomfortable zone. And then the 4th step is key. Double-check the think I knows.
That 4th step is a trap, isn't it? Thinking you know something when you actually don't.
It is. But making a mistake there is incredibly valuable. This is the hypercorrection effect. If you are confident you know the answer and then you quiz yourself and realize you are wrong, your brain is shocked. It pays extra attention to the correction.
So getting it wrong is good.
You actually learn that fact better than if you had just read it passively. So testing yourself and getting it wrong is a powerful study tool. Failure during practice is better than success during passive reading.
Another advanced strategy is identifying key constraints.
The choke point.
There is always one thing that sets the speed at which you achieve a goal. One bottleneck. Imagine a factory line. If one machine is slow, the whole factory is slow. Speeding up the other machines doesn't help.
And the statistic here regarding students is surprising. 80% of constraints are internal.
We love to think the constraint is the teacher, or the lack of time, or the noisy roommate. Those are external. But the book says 80% of the time, the bottleneck is a skill you lack, a habit you haven't built, or a fear you haven't conquered.
So if I'm failing calculus, the constraint probably isn't the teacher hates me. It might be I never actually memorized the unit circle.
Precisely. Or I don't know how to take good notes, or I get anxious during tests. The solution is to ask, what sets the speed at which I achieve my goal? If you focus all your energy on alleviating that one internal bottleneck, you will see massive progress. Don't try to fix everything at once. Fix the choke point. The final strategy in this section is about handling pressure. Because let's face it, school is pressure. It never stops.
And the advice here is counterintuitive. Put the pressure on yourself.
Why would I want more pressure? I have enough.
Because internal pressure feels like control, external pressure feels like stress. If you wait for the teacher to nag you, you feel helpless, you feel hunted. If you set an imaginary deadline that is 3 days before the real deadline, you are the boss.
You're in charge.
You are leading the field. You finish early, and you relax while everyone else is panicking.
One technique mentioned is pretending you have to leave town tomorrow for a month.
Right. This is a great thought experiment. If you received a phone call right now saying you had to leave the country tomorrow morning for a month, what must get done today?
Panic ensues. But I see the point.
Panic, then clarity. It forces you to ruthlessly cut out the trivial tasks. You wouldn't reorganize your desk. You wouldn't carefully color code your notes. You would finish the paper. It forces you to identify the frog instantly.
And regarding perfectionism, which I know cripples a lot of students, the book suggests get it 80% right and correct it later.
This combats the paralysis of starting. You can't edit a blank page, just get a draft done, even if it's bad. Especially if it's bad. Once it exists, you can fix it, but you have to break the silence of the blank page. The first draft is just you telling yourself the story. The edit is where you make it look like schoolwork.
Okay, we have unpacked a lot here. We've covered the mindset, the looks, the momentum, the advanced strategies. Let's try to summarize the key takeaways for someone who wants to start applying this tomorrow.
If you boil it down, it comes back to the title. Eat the ugliest frog first. Start your day or your study session with the hardest, most important task. Get it out of the way.
Then, write down your goals. Use the 3 Ps. Positive, present, personal. Program your brain to see success.
Plan every day in advance, ideally the night before. Use your lists to clear your mind for sleep and prep your subconscious to solve problems while you dream.
Slice the task. Don't try to eat the whole elephant or frog at once. Use the salami or Swiss cheese methods to get started. Just bunch a hole in it.
And finally, take responsibility. Stop looking for external excuses and start looking for internal solutions. You are the CEO of your own education.
I want to leave our listeners with a final provocative thought from the book. It's the law of forced efficiency.
This is the reality check we all need. There is never enough time to do everything, but there is always enough time to do the most important thing.
That is actually really liberating. I don't have to do everything.
No?
I just have to do the right thing.
Exactly. You will never clear the deck completely. The waves keep coming. But you can choose which waves to surf. You can choose to be effective rather than just busy.
So here's our challenge to you, the listener. Right now, think about your to-do list. What is your biggest, ugliest frog? What is the thing you are dreading? The thing you have been putting off?
Don't think about it too much. You already know what it is. It's the one that made your stomach tighten just now.
Identify it. And immediately after this deep dive ends, eat it. Or at least take one small salami slice out of it.
Your future self will thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. The book is Eat That Frog for Students by Brian Tracy. We'll see you next time.
Happy studying.